Delighted to have Chief Phil Lane Jr. here. He's a member of the Ihanktonwan and Chickasaw Nations. He's an international leader in human, community, and economic development, connecting Indigenous people around the world. He's originally from Kansas, but now lives in the White Rock area near Vancouver. He's doing incredible work. He's one of our great elders. Please give him a big hand.
Thank you much, Stephen. I appreciate it very much, all you do.
So we'll flash a 10-minute sign out when we get close.
Miidakiepi. Just put it right there. When somebody comes up. Miidakiepi, my very, very, very beloved members of our human family. I'm so thankful to the Spirit Medicine Conference, Plant Medicine Conference, to be here with you, who, through these sacred medicines, are awakening as our human families awakening, as Oz prophesied, that we are, each of us, a sacred being, a sovereignty, ancient, imperishable, and everlasting. That's how our Indigenous believe. When we're born to this physical plane of time and space, that's who we are, each and every one of us. To begin, I'd like to sing a song from our sacred white buffalo calf woman who came to us in about 950 AD. She put all her sacred teachings in her songs. And this is the foundation of all. I bought two rattles because this one's about ready to go off, so it goes off and spreads all over. We'll switch to this one. But this song is sung when we're preparing a pipe, but to remind us, it says, Chinupa kile wakanyalo wayankie. Chinupa means sacred pipe. It means the mineral people, which make up the bowl, the water, the earth, that's sacred. The plant people that make up the stem, they're sacred. We always have an eagle feather or some kind of thing representing those beloved animal relatives. The animal people are sacred. And then when you put the pipe together, that stem of that pipe represents man, and the bowl represents womankind, represents Mother Earth. When we put these two together, we create ourselves as a human being, which is a reflection of the mineral, the plant, the animal, the human. So I want to honor that, because we are here to discover more deeply the sacredness of our beings, each and every one of us. No one's left out of this. No member of the human family is left over. Wayankie, 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 Chanupa kile, Wakayelo, Wayankie, 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 Chanupa kile, Wakayelo, Wayankie. And I want to acknowledge that I'm standing on the sacred land of the Salish Nation, Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, Musqueam, and all our beloved relatives. I want to give thanksgiving to them. Especially, I want to honor our beloved Sundance Chief Reuben George of the Chief Dan George Foundation, Chief George family, who's here with us. Brother, son, would you stand up? Give him a really happy. Thank you. Thank you for keeping this land sacred. Aho. I'm not going to get into different work I've done over the last 55 years, because we've all done the work. I think it's most important to get into what we can do to truly uplift and heal and empower our human family. Our human family is very sick at this time, Miidakiepi. Fentanyl overdoses is the highest death between 18 and 45, more than COVID, more than cancer. We need healing of the soul. And that's what this is about. So I just want to share a little bit, because it's not in my biography, my experience with these sacred medicines. 1963, or let me go back. My first experience really beginning this journey was back in November 1970, when I traveled to Bolivia, and really culminated on July 9th, 1971, when we fulfilled the prophecy of the reunion of the condor and the eagle, and I happened to be there at that time. And we began to search, how do we heal ourselves and how do we heal our human family? Because our prophecies promise that after this long spiritual wintertime, we would awaken. All humanity would awaken. And we would heal ourselves of the intergenerational trauma and the challenges we've been through. And so for myself, my first experience was 1963, when this friend of mine showed up at my apartment and says, they got this medicine, it'll solve all your problems. And this was the pure stuff, LSD at that time, Timothy Leary stuff. I had never smoked a joint. I have to admit I've had a few beers, but at that time, I never. And all of a sudden, he brings me this was a little like a piece of paper you stick in your mouth. He said, "Well, this will show you some things." Oh, okay. Pow! I remember in the height of this thing, I told him, I said, "Are you sure we're supposed to know all this?" Really? I know some of you experienced. Are we supposed to know all this? Yes. So that was fine. I tried that a little bit, but I found out it didn't take me up, it took me down. Because we need people to help facilitate, and we need those people to be very, very spiritually in tune, very, very ethically minded. Anyway, the next experience was I came in 1975, I came to work at Daybreak Star Center at the Discovery Park in Seattle. It was the only place in which Indigenous people actually took over a military base through all those things with Alcatraz and so forth. And this roadman came from Oklahoma. He said, "Phil," he said, "I'd like to have some prayers." I said, "Sure, we'll just have them out at the barracks there," because with our Daybreak Star. So that's where we had the first ever Native American church ceremony, peyote ceremony. We didn't have a charter or anything. It turns out, and that was another one of these things. I had no idea. I was going to have a few prayers. But I learned a lot from that medicine. And they told me, they said, if you really want to get well with that medicine, you take and you eat it or drink it or however they make it. There's different ways you make it. And you just keep taking it. You keep letting go. And it's a bitter medicine. Like my dad said, if you water it down, something's bitter, it means nothing. So he said, you keep taking that medicine. You keep letting that poison come out. And finally, if the poison's out, then take some more. Well, that didn't take me long to get well from that. And we've always been taught, only take those medicines when you need to have those medicines. Then, after that experience, it wasn't until the early 1990s that I began to really seek out how can we help heal our Indigenous people? How can we help break through this incredible pain and shame that we have, not just as Indigenous people, because we're all Indigenous people of Mother Earth, but as our human family, how do we do this? And so I went and met with Oscar Janiger. At that time, he was the one that was doing all the LSD therapy. I sat with him for a day. He told me about what they were doing there. Then I had met Peter Levine, who told me at that time they were looking at MDMA. So I looked at MDMA. That wasn't it for me quite. And so then I traveled in 1992 with my beloved wife, Sutita, who's sitting in here. Be sure if you see her, hello. But we went down to Puerto Rico for the first time. We had two, Emerson Jackson, president of the Native American Church, of all the Native American churches across the Americas, plus two incredible twins that could really sing these peyote songs. And we had Ayahuasquero come up from Colombia. That was 1992. So I went to that meeting in the same way with my elders' instructions. Drink that medicine and drink that medicine and drink that medicine and keep. I got to say one thing between the two. Peyote, if you've ever had that medicine, it's very bitter. So when you throw up, I mean, you really feel it. But one thing I found about that mother ayahuasca, kind of like, you know. Anyway, and I did the same. I kept drinking that and drinking that and drinking that. I'd go back over and drinking it and drinking it and drinking until finally it was gone. I mean, I had it. And that was it. Then came really the big changing point in our healing movement. Through a vision of a dear brother of mine, PJ, who you'll meet at Bright Futures, we began the journey from a vision from the sacred land of the Chickasaw Nation, where the Trail of Tears started in Tennessee. And he had a vision I should come there. They had a new medicine, Clarogenics. Clarogenics are not psychedelics. They're a whole new step forward. By the way, not negating any of these other wonderful medicines. But as you know, even with ayahuasca, we had this, I think it's important to know that out of over 120 psychedelic medicines, 100 were domesticated here in the Americas. Because we lived here in relative peace and harmony. And I believe these medicines really helped us. Also, there was 108 million indigenous people living across the Americas at the time of Columbus, living in relative peace and harmony. Relative peace and harmony. And so first, the foods, 80% of all the foods we're eating today came from here, the Americas. Then, of course, gold and silver from Africa and here. That helped. But then, now came the plant medicines. So, okay, we can go ahead and begin this part. And so we're going to see some. So what happened was I traveled to the sacred place in Tennessee. When I arrived down there, I was, in 2020, August, I was 220 pounds. And I knew I had to try this medicine myself before I could pass it to anybody else. So I went 4 times. In that process, I went from, it was a 210 down to 157. And all of a sudden, I found this process. And we had our dear beloved sister, Ajna Jean Fleury, our international coordinator, sitting right down here. You'll get a chance to meet her during the conference. I said, she's the one I want to bring on. Because she has been a nurse for 46 years, been meditating for 46 years. I want to give her, after I did 4 sessions, you have to go do it first. And she came along. She said, Phil. Then I had my dear sister, Mona Palaka, who's been involved with our other beloved brother in her area with peyote for all her life. So I wanted our traditional relatives to also, and they said, Phil, this is really great. And so we began expanding this. Across the United States, healing in the east, to the south, clear down, now we're clear down with this medicine down to Mexico, into Guatemala, into Canada, especially beginning up the Shuswap territory. We now have a healing center for our programming, in which we are looking forward to have the healing of 400 indigenous leaders, mothers, and veterans, as well we have as well another dimension of this, and that's the bright future journeys for those who are not Indigenous people or who aren't part of our overall Healing Our Spirit program. The same protocols there for others. So here is the medicine. Oh, right. Okay. Potatoes. Believe it or not, in those sacred potatoes, there's some things in there. So this potatoes, next. Of course, we know mushrooms, but a very small amount of mushrooms. Next. Sassafras. Sassafras, it's an herb, it's a bush in a tree. Next. Marigold. Marigold. Now, it's the day that science and spirituality have to come together because they come from the same place, from our Creator. Science without spirituality becomes a Frankenstein. Spirituality without reason becomes fanaticism. And so what we've done is we've binded these two together and always involving the medical community, functional doctors who are awakened to this. And it's like combining a alloy. When you take two metals, one has a tensile strength of 10, another one 15, you put them together, you'd expect the tensile strength to be 12.5. Instead, it's 100 or 1,000. We did this naturally with our medicines, as you know, how we mix different medicines. But now with science and joining together, Western medical science joining together with Indigenous science and spirituality at the core. That's the core. These sacred ceremonies are the core. So I want to bring on now Dr. Samuel Lee, a dear brother who gave up his work down in Tennessee to come up here and give us a hand, to advise us. He's a psychiatrist as well as an MD. So Dr. Sam, please, he's going to share with you on the kind of scientific side, from the scientific side, and his perspective about Clarogenics. Oh, there he is.
Thank you, Chief. Hi, Chief.
Hey there,
can
brother.
you hear me?
We can hear you.
Am I coming in? Can you guys hear me? First of all, I just
You're coming in.
Coming in hot like a fajita. All right. I just wanted to take a moment here to acknowledge Hereditary Chief Phil Lane Jr. I had the joy and privilege of traveling around to the Northern Canadian tribes, sitting with him, listening to him, and for the past 55 years, Chief Phil Lane has been preaching and teaching around the globe about the unity of humanity, especially when it was not popular, preaching about the unity and the seeds that he has planted. May all of those seeds be harvested now and with great joy, and the prophecies are now being created and fulfilled at the same time, where, Bob Marley sang about Zion. Jesus spoke about the kingdom of heaven is in your heart. Eckhart Tolle calls it the new earth. And Chief Phil Lane has planted these seeds around the globe, literally. And so I just want to pay my respect to the elders of the Indigenous populations, and especially to Chief, that the joy to see these souls harvested would be seen and felt in your heart and your mind. And so thank you, Chief, for your unwavering faith and commitment to the unity of humanity, and for preaching that message, especially at a time when it was not popular. With that being said, all Indigenous cultures understood that there is only one disease, dis-ease, not the 20,000 that Western science has created. And why is that? Because metaphysics, when one is connected to the spirit, from the spirit to the oversoul to the soul to the mind. The mind administers these frequencies, and the frequencies come into the body, and consciousness binds to the water in the body, and then literally it goes through the DNA like a piano, and it codes for epigenetic and proteins, taking instruction from the unseen world, the spirit world. So it is metaphysics, which is the cause, which becomes physics, which is what we see, which is proteins, amino acids, electrons, protons, things like that. So all indigenous cultures understood there is only one disease, and that is a disconnection from one's own spirit. Because from there, the right attitudes and thoughts and beliefs are administered through the brain into the DNA, which then codes for the proteins, which becomes physics. And so right now, the future of medicine, as Einstein and Tesla both said, the future of medicine is frequency. So there's a lot of people doing psychedelics right now. But anytime you take a trip, especially in the invisible world, it's very important to know, where am I going? What frequency am I intending to connect to? But more importantly, the sacred why. What is my intention? Because intention has infinite organizing power. It's actually a frequency that exists between matter, a magnetic frequency, which attracts to that person exactly what they are intending. So with that being said, I also am a board certified psychiatrist, and I experienced every psychiatric condition personally, then became a psychiatrist, then went on a deeply healing journey, became a yoga teacher, breath work, pumping kundalini, trips to the Amazon, working with ayahuasca, worked with the mushrooms, worked with the cactus for a while, until the plants told me that's enough. And so I had done a lot of healing work, but then at that point, someone had a vision of me and said, I need to invite you to Tennessee. And that's where I got introduced to Clarogenics. So where are we trying to go when we take a Clarogenics journey? Well, the DNA in between the double-stranded helix that scientists used to call junk DNA, it is not junk. It is potential intron DNA, but it responds to what we do not see. Scientists were only thinking that 90 to 97%, because we do not see it, is junk. It's not junk. Creator does not create junk. It's potential intron DNA. So a lot of people, the greatest lie ever told to humanity is that we're third dimensional. That is false. We are multidimensional beings. So a lot of people say, cool soul, bro, but what is the soul? The soul is a frequency, a less dense version of me existing right now. So the fourth, fifth, and sixth stranded DNA, according to quantum morphogenetic physics, is a carbon crystalline, less dense version of me existing at a certain bandwidth of frequency. A lot of us, when we dream, some of us are traveling our consciousness into the lower fourth astral world, or the upper astral world, the fourth dimension. That is a bandwidth of frequency. The fifth dimension is a bandwidth of frequency, a level of perception, and the sixth dimension is also corresponds to the sixth DNA strand. So in a Clarogenics journey, we are intending to connect people directly with their soul frequencies. What is the sacred why behind that? Because the soul knows exactly why it's here. There is no force in source. For there to be love, there must be a choice. So that means we chose to be born, we chose our mother's womb, and we chose a generalized specific mission. And on the day we were born, the astrology aligned perfectly to accommodate and a success for our mission. So the soul has access to information, higher levels of perception. It knows exactly how to heal and in what order to heal. It also knows what that person's soul mission is and what they're ready to receive. So in the Clarogenics journey, we use 3 sacred tools, which are plant-based, but Western formulations of the plants that Chief just showed you. And so what we do is so these are just tools, sacred tools. The medicine is actually the person. So we quiet down the GABA receptors in the brain, G-aminobutyric acid, slowly putting on the brakes of the brain. We know exactly and precisely what the half-lives of these medicines are. Then we onboard the heart medicine, which is based on sassafras, but a Western formulation, in 3 onboarding doses. We know exactly what the half-lives are based upon the person's weight. It's a precise onboarding. And so the frequency coming out of the Heart Math Institute can now measure is carrying information 5 to 15 feet in all directions, and it is oscillating and vibrating into multidimensional frequencies based on that person's soul contract and what DNA strand they are creating. The person starts oscillating into multidimensional soul frequencies. Now we give 3 onboarding heart dosages. We know exactly that what the half-life is. So after the second dose, the frequency goes up. After the third dose, the frequency goes up. Now, at that point, we say a 10-minute prayer to open a portal straight to source. We set the barriers in the invisible world. And the reason why people don't go dark is we're oscillating past the lower 4th astral realm. The lower 4th astral realm is where disembodied energies and entities hang out, that vampire energy from humanity. So we have found that in a space of love and light only, in a bubble of this love and light, when the person feels completely safe, that's where the most healing can occur. So we oscillate past that. And then about 10 minutes after the third dose is when we lay the person down, put on an eye mask, sacred music playlist, custom formulated, and then we give a quick intramuscular injection, which is based on the marigold plant, but it's a glutamate receptor antagonist. So now the brakes of GABA on the brain or heart are open. The heart is wide open into multidimensional frequencies. Now, if we can quiet down the rear default mode network of the brain, which functional MRIs show that this medicine can do, then at that point, about 5 to 10 minutes after that, the person can then have a direct connection to what you want to call the soul frequencies, the 4th and 5th and 6th stranded DNA. And so then the cool thing is the reason we call it clarogenics and not hallucinogens is because the person is clear the whole time. And so we can create now, the person can transcribe and speak about what they're being shown. They can talk about what their soul is showing them. They can talk about, they can tune into a dimension beyond space or time. And about an hour into this journey, healing frequencies are wide open. Now the person's higher self is directly downloading them as they transcribe and speak into a recorder what they're being shown. And so we come back from this journey, and some people say it's the safest they've ever felt. Some people say like it's the most unconditional love. Just a month ago, someone said it's the first time they've ever felt God's love in their life, and they were like 70 years old. We're seeing sometimes we can see a lifetime of trauma released in 4 hours. We've seen spines that are misaligned, healed, and people are walking again. So every soul is unique. So we can record that voice recording and we can bring it back. And then we've seen things, we felt things, we've spoken things. But the most important thing is to integrate these frequencies into the physical plane. And so we can type out the words and bring the alchemical magic of typing out the voice of the soul, a multidimensional soul song, onto a transcript. And then we can connect the person with the integration specialist and have integration and create a soul action plan based upon what that person's higher self has told them. And so this is really a bridge medicine. We're almost like in the last scene of Avatar, if you want to call it, where they're going for Mother Earth's resources. They're fracking, they're coaling, they're mining. The water supply is going low, and the resources are running low. And the only way is we need to increase our consciousness and come together. Together we remember, hand in hand we stand. We are one human family, unified polarity, divine neutrality. We are who we've been looking for. And so just like the last scene of Avatar, they're going for Mother Tree, they're going for Mother Earth. We have to come together now, and those who love peace must learn to organize and collaborate and communicate better than those who love war. And so this, the ayahuasca plant, the plants have consciousness, just like in Avatar. The plants are saying, hey, I'm here to help. Mushroom has, I'm here to help. We haven't even tuned into a lot of these plants in the Amazon that are here to help. And so every plant has a reason, a healing property, but this is actually a bridge medicine to the future, because the future is frequency, and the future of the vision of red and yellow, black and white, standing under the sacred tree, holding hands, as and so many prophecies that have been long foretold are now being created and fulfilled at the same time. And so this medicine has served as a very important catalyst in my life, in many people's life, And we're literally seeing what Western science calls miracles, but it's actually not a miracle. It's science, because we are in that state where spirit and science, spirit is science, and we're being able to explain everything now in the words of frequency. And I didn't even talk about the 7th, 8th, 9th-stranded DNA is actually the oversoul, and the 10th, 11th, 12th-stranded DNA is your avatar, inner Christo self. Therefore, Jesus said, you shall do even greater things than me, because he understood from the ages of 12 to 30, he was activating his 12th-stranded DNA, his inner Christos. And so this medicine has now come to light, and through Bright Future, through spreading this medicine, and we see now this vision of healing centers, and the 7 to 11 generations of trauma now being healed. And this is a powerful ally in the space of the future is frequency. And this is a medicine that utilizes frequency to directly connect people to their soul. We can record it, and we're seeing healing, we're seeing miracles, and we're seeing missions and people's true purpose being activated. So I'm a big proponent of this medicine. Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Spirit Conference, for allowing me to speak on this medicine. I appreciate it.
Great. Perfect. Whoa. Good one, brother. Good one.
Love you, Chief.
Great one. Great one. Now, I want to step in to the Amazon now, because we've been working directly with our relatives in the Amazon to protect and restore the Amazon with the indigenous people themselves. And next one here. So we're working in this particular area on the border of Colombia and Ecuador, right in the heart of where all this destruction is going on. And I want to share this, that these medicines, we're utilizing them here many times. Oh, we're going to have see and experience oneness. But they have been the source of the survival of our indigenous people of the Amazon. All these sacred medicines have kept this going despite its seemingly overwhelming odds. The same as what happened with peyote. You know, in the north of southern Mexico, we relatively used small medicines, except for here, of course, they knew every leaf and rock, and as Chief Reuben George will tell you, they had a name for psilocybin, for mushrooms. The death plant, meaning you're born into a new life, many times given at puberty, for puberty rites, to leave one state to come to another. But what we're working on there is Sacred Medicine Farm. They're building out 15 hectares, ayahuasca, yoko, all the local medicines, because they want to invite the world to come and join them. One thing I love there, these are whole communities. These medicines are communal medicines to bring people together and to heal relatives. As well, we have our first Center of Indigenous Science, Midwifery, and Ancestral Wisdom there, as well as Chiapas, Mexico. Digital sovereignty. Our young people in the Amazon, one of the things we're doing is providing cell phones so they can completely become competent where they're at, to as well as drones, to oversee what's going on and share that with the world. Another part of that. Of course, that's the whole thing of Amazon Guardians, is where we've got nighttime and daytime drones that they can go and share with the world what's going on. And finally, we're convening a meeting of indigenous leaders across the Amazon from the nine colonial nation states that, quote unquote, govern the Amazon at this point, because this has to come from within. Next. So you can learn more. Here's our website, www.fwi.earth. And Bright Future is coming up. Now, I really want to thank our dear brother, PJ. PJ, are you right here? Right back there. They have stepped in. Bright Futures has stepped in. They've supported us in our work up in Shuswap Nation here in the Americas, in what we call Turtle Island in the northern part. They've supported us down in Amazon, and all their sales for this weekend are going to support Indigenous people. I believe there needs to be reciprocity. I believe that we need to give thanksgiving to those relatives who have where these medicines come from. So you'll have an opportunity, if you choose. Our Four Worlds Global Impact Fund is dedicated to awakening Indigenous people and sharing all our wisdom with humanity. Frank Foolscrow said back in the early, in the late 1960s, he said, we must share our ceremonies. We must share what we have. If we don't, Mother Earth will die. If Mother Earth will die, we'll die. Now, there's been, as you know, there's been different perspectives because when you had everything taken from you, can you imagine going from 108 million relatives down to 20? Seeing Buffalo go from 600 million, 60 million, down to 1,000. But these medicines, like I was sharing, Quanah Parker, towards the late 1800s, about 1890, had this experience with the peyote medicine. It had never been up north. And all of a sudden, because of the pain and hurt, that medicine spread all over Canada and the United States. It's the same thing now we're doing with Clarogenics, because we can have our elders who are 80 years old. It's during the daytime. The heartbeat doesn't increase. And yet, I've seen these elders, one after another, come out and say, Phil, I remember this one, my good friend, he who kills the grizzly bear, Shuswap territory. So we went up there as soon as they found those children. He said, Phil, he said, that's the best sleep I've ever had, brother. But we see these dramatic changes going on with our Indigenous people themselves with this new medicine, along with the other medicines. So we have as well, I want to recognize Flavio from Ecuador. Flavio, Brother Flavio, he's been growing up with this medicine. He's lived with this medicine all his life. In fact, in our healing center up in Shuswap territory, he'll be up there because we're setting up on our own Indigenous territories. Because we believe these territories have never been surrendered, ever. And we should be able to, considering the record of the government of Canada, all due respect, to take charge of our own healing. Really. Time to take charge of our healing. It's time. These medicines have been given to us as a gift. So I really look forward, during this time we have together, to take time to meet you and talk about how can we work together? How can we uplift our human family? We are in trouble. We are in a crucial period, which our prophecies promised. In a way, our human family is right in the birth canal. But we got some big contractions coming up. Big contractions. And tell us one story. I'm seeing my timing. I have a little bit of time. 10. Yes, 10 minutes. Good. I used to, when I was young, go out and speak because I had black curly hair. I was about 2 inches taller. My plumbing was fine. The whole works. And I'd get up there, and the elders liked me to speak because I'd talk about how well we treated Mother Earth, how we treated our children, how all the great things, about all the food we domesticated, all the sacred medicines we had. And so I went to speak at Rocky Boy in Montana. And I was just really going, you know, and the elders were happy, the parents were happy, some of the young people were listening, but one young man, I could tell, was not buying any of it. None of it. And so I knew, of course, just like all of us, you know, after we like to eat. So we had to have our, you know, after eating, after the graduation. So sure enough, I was going to get some food. Here he came. He said, you know, Phil, I listened to everything you said. And he repeated everything I said. We did all these great things. We loved the Creator. We took care of our elders. We took care of Mother Earth. We never took more than we needed. He said, I only have one question for you. Why did God punish us? Boy, I didn't jump back. But I'd learned from the elders by that time. I said, you know, younger brother, that's a good question. I'm going to need to go pray about that. So it just so happened I was on my way to Sundance, so I went up to fast, where we go up without food and water for sometimes 4 days and 4 nights, and went and Sundanced. But I realized, it's just the same as these sacred ceremonies we go into. If we go and no matter how tough it is, because when you Sundance, you go without food and water, it's 100 degrees, your lips get cracked, your tongue gets big, no water. But if you continue to pray, when you leave that ceremony, whether it's in Ikaka, sweat lodge, whatever, you feel better. And so then the answer I needed came to me. I said, younger brother, the next time I saw him, we've just completed a 500-year Sundance. We've just completed a 500-year sweat lodge, a 500-year ayahuasca ceremony. And we are stronger and more united than ever before. And we believe, just like everybody wouldn't be here, if you didn't believe and have hope in our future as a human family. And so that's why we have to make partnership and support one another and help one another. And I want to thank, again, Ejna. Please stand up. Ejna. Ejna has taken this by car. She's traveled all over to Mexico, everywhere bringing this medicine. I want to thank her. I want to thank PJ. Have you already stood up there? He's back there, and I'll be back there. Please, any questions, please come back. We have a beautiful book, The Sacred Tree, which we put together in 1985. We'd love to share a copy with you. Flavio, Monique Manasco, right here, helped me get all these slides together and so forth. Let's get in the back room. And number one, my beloved wife. Please stand up. She's a ceremony unto itself. Please, stand up. Where is she? Clear in the back? Anyway. Oh, there you are. Okay. Over 30 years, she hung out with me. I think that makes her pretty well a saint. Anybody hung out with me for 30 years, I can tell you. So, mitaki epi, our timing is about, 5 minutes. Any questions, please?
What was the name of the glutamate antagonist that was injected intramuscularly?
Pardon?
Let's get this on record.
Yeah, by the way, on the questions about the ingredients and so forth, the medicine, stop by Bright Futures.
Okay, that was my question, so I'll stop by. It was about the glutamate antagonist injected intramuscularly. I just wondered if there was a name, if there was a chemical, or if it was a plant compound, or...
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
No, what I'm saying is stop by over at the booth. We'll be
I will.
happy for those who are interested to go in more detail. My gosh. Great. Well, I'll sing a closing song then. This song is, I really want to thank you, Stephen and Mark. I want to sing this song in recognition of you and your team for 11 years, and you've always included Indigenous people. It's always been about spirit. That's what this is about. That just like in our mother's womb, our purpose to grow our physical arms and legs and eyes and ears, so in this womb we're in, with my earth suit. It's not to grow my earth suit bigger, I'll tell you that, after 78 winters. Our purpose here is to grow our spiritual arms and legs and eyes and ears, to prepare us for this sacred journey that goes on forever, forever. The soul has no ethnicity, no class, no gender. The soul is a reflection of the oneness of our Creator, which makes any prejudice whatsoever completely unacceptable. And that's what we experience when we experience oneness. We don't experience gender. We don't experience class. We experience the oneness of our Creator, the oneness of who we are. So I'll close this off. This song is a covenant the white buffalo woman made with us. So it says, friend, do it this way. That is, whatever we do in life, do it the very best you can. If you get knocked down, get up. If you get knocked down 1,000 times, get up 1,000 times. Then it says, when one sits in the sacred hoop of the people, one must be responsible. And it says, that's kind of the agreement. It says, if you do it that way, then it says, when one sits in the sacred circle of people, one must be responsible. That's the agreement. Then it says, if you do it that way, whatever you ask for, that's exactly the way it's going to be. And that's the way you proceed. So I pray these next 3 days we can come together and really, truly manifest something that changes and heals and helps and supports and uplifts our human family. Hey, Kanuki, Dakuya Chinkuye, Jekuteo, Ho, Kawashi, Yoyo Takeki, Hey, Suyo Pakio, Lei Kanuki, Dakuya Chinkuye, Jekuteo, Holy Chele Chuo, Holy Chele Chuo, Holy Chele Chuo. Hey, Kanuki, Dakuya Chinkuye, Tekuteo, Ocho Kawaji, you are Ilo Takeki, Pixio Pakieo, Lay Kanuki, Dakuya Chinkuye, Tekuteo. Well, thank you, Creator. Thank you all so very much. And remember every day when you wake up, when you look at yourself, each of us is a sovereignty, ancient and perishable and everlasting. We were born that way. We were conceived that way. And we have made a choice to come together like this and to help transform our human family by transforming ourselves. Because it's only right here that happens. Everything comes from within. And so I look forward to visiting what we're doing, and your support is greatly, greatly appreciated. Hauli chante washtelo, shukmano he meado, chinupasapa he meado, hauli chante washte. That, in our Dakota language, when we finish speaking, we always say our names. My name is Shukmano, and Chinupasapa have two names. And I stand fully responsible before the Creator for my words and my actions. Hauli chante washte. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.